They made a Sonic movie, they fixed Sonic's design, but is the movie actually good? Let's find out together. Block content. What's happening, my Block buddies, and welcome to a brand new episode of Blocked Content. We're going to be looking at the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. This is the official Blocked Content review. I actually got to see it at an early screening at Paramount. I'm super happy that I got to see it. This is an early review. The movie's not yet out, so there will be no spoilers in this review. The movie actually comes out on Valentine's Day, so I'll be talking about the story in a very general sense. I'll not be talking about any character spoilers or, character arcs and that kind of stuff. I will just generally be talking about what I thought of the movie, its characters, the performances, and the general package of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It was really cool. I got an early screening at Paramount where I actually got to connect with the people that made Sonic, and there's a big collaboration announcement coming up soon this week, so I can't wait for you guys to see it. It was a huge deal to me, so I'm very closely tied to this thing, and I'm very happy that I get to review it too. So I would compare Sonic to Deadpool for kids, if that actually makes sense. There's some slight road trip elements and there's general action movie tropes in here, but I feel like it breaks the fourth wall, as you've seen in the trailer. It really feels like this Deadpool kind of humor that I didn't really think would fit with Sonic at all, because, the games kind of make it quite grounded. If you've seen the newer ones, they really try to put Sonic in a realistic setting where actually these things are just, happening to him, and the whole world is kind of revolving around all these big, huge, life-changing events. And this movie is a little bit more lighthearted like that, and also Sonic does break the fourth wall. He's a really cute character in the movie, and I love that this is taking that kind of Deadpool approach, for kids, because of course Tim Miller is involved in the movie as a producer who made the first Deadpool movie, so it does feel like they're trying to kind of get that sort of an audience. It's snarky, but it's still fun, it's heartwarming, but it can be a little bit like pushing the edges of what you can do in a kid's movie, like in terms of some of the dialogue. I mean, there's references to things that they probably shouldn't reference in a kid's movie, which I actually really liked. Yeah, the tone of the movie is lighthearted, but also sometimes very epic. They do a lot of things in the movie that make the scale of it feel quite huge, especially in the opening moments and the closing moments, and I really feel like they want to explore this universe in a lot bigger way soon, and not necessarily in this movie. It stays kind of grounded to our real world, but you get the feeling through some sequences that I can't talk about that they really know a lot more, that they really have a whiteboard with a lot of stuff that they want to explore, and they're just waiting for the opportunity. So the movie is full of lore, some explored, some left to be explored in sequels, so if you're a fan of any of the eras of Sonic in the past, well, you're in for a big treat. There's even references to very small and obscure stuff, or like general Sonic stuff that you love. There's even a small music cue in there. There's not a ton of music that is lifted from the games, but there's one moment that you guys will like, and it's played in a very specific, very cool and classic and fun way. So fans of any era would love this. The Japanese feature film Sonic, the animation way back when, gets very specific nods, which I love, and they have big story impact as well. There's frames of Sonic's animation that actually invoke other games like Super Smash Bros., Sonic Advance, and even stuff like classic Genesis Sonic, so keep a lookout for those things, and if you think, well, that looks familiar, it's probably because they put a lot of love in that. You can really feel like the design team really loves Sonic, and there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about that. There's even a super deep cut reference made by a character called Carl that I lost it at. I just totally laughed out loud in the cinema, along with some other people that I think were mega fans as well. You'll know it when you see it, so the character Carl, keep a lookout for that character because he does something very fun in the movie that I laughed very hard at, and only true deep cut Sonic fans will know it. The movie sometimes takes its time at very specific points in the film, and I would have loved more stops in the road trip, right? The movie sometimes slows down a little bit, which is okay. I mean, it's a Sonic movie, but even in the Sonic games, you slow down at some points, right? Do a little light platforming and stuff like that. This movie kind of does it to establish character, but I would have loved to have the road trip land in more specific points. They basically go to two locations. That's kind of it, and you've seen that in the trailers, but yeah, the idea of a road trip with Sonic would be a lot more epic because the character can literally go anywhere, so maybe they'll explore that a little bit later. So setting up the story, it does take a bit of time, and paying that story off was a little bit too quick. The final act is cool and kind of grand, but it kind of went by at supersonic speed, so that's probably I want to see explored too. The standout performances to me, well, one of them is James Marsden as Tom, or Donut Lord, which he's affectionately called by Sonic. He's so good at acting with nothing, that James Marsden, and he's very, very charming in the movie. I mean, it is a huge testament to his skill. I mean, he's done it before in different movies where he's acting opposite nothing, or a tennis ball, or, you know, a little doll with like dots on its face for like CGI references, but he really is charming with nothing on screen, and even with some of the human characters that he has scenes with, I think his eyes are glistening even more when he plays with Sonic in a scene, and that's pretty incredible. I mean, that is a specific skill, so there's no doubt in my mind that that's one of the reasons why it was cast in this, is because he's so good at that specific type of stuff, and, you know, he really nailed it in this movie. I really felt like he was almost like Sonic's dad or something like that. It really felt like a very close connection, but he also kind of was sick of it, which I think that dads can kind of relate to that feeling too, where it's like, okay, you know, I've had this whole day at work and now my kids are running around and I just am done with this whole stuff. So that really sold it, but you can easily also see a Paul Rudd or a Chris Pratt in that role in the movie, so the role isn't crazy unique, but it works fine against Sonic, who's of course crazy, out there, you know, this energetic kid. So I actually think that James Marsden did a really good job here, because it is a difficult craft and I don't think anyone would be able to do it, but the aforementioned, like the Paul Rudds or the Chris Pratts or other actors of that caliber, the everyman actors, they could definitely do a very good job at that too, but I think that James Marsden was just the right pick for the right time. Now, Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, Dr. Ivo Robotnik, is easily one of the high points for me, and I didn't expect it. He's a top shelf Jim Carrey here, finally back in an over-the-top role, you know, an extremely smart but humanly flawed villain, and you really get the feeling that even though it's a Sonic the Hedgehog video game kids movie, Jim just goes all in. He believes in this story, the movie, the characters, and he most of all believes in himself as Robotnik. You can feel that in like everything in his performance that he does. He loves being there, and he loves doing this thing, and he actually totally goes all out for it. He's nothing like Eggman in the games at first, but he brings something to the role that I actually want to see explored more, maybe in the games, maybe in future movies. Eggman in the games is a bit more bitter, he's angry and a little bit one note, you know, that hedgehog, and Jim's portrayal actually suggests stuff as like childhood neglect, trauma, and actually goes in depth into some of his backstory, which not really happened in any of the games. So there's so much to explore with Robotnik in sequels, and without giving much away, they clearly have a plan. The filmmakers clearly kind of know what they're doing with Robotnik here. So Sonic was really solid. I'm gonna say something controversial and state that Sonic's design change might not have impacted the actual movie that I saw as much. It did wonders for the marketing and the fan interest in the movie, and I totally get that. I was on board too, but I can totally see why the initial design would have worked as well. The alien aspect of the characters played up, the fact that he's treated in the script as a little kid with his energy and emotion. Well, Ben Schwartz might be one of my favorite Sonic voices. There have been a lot in the past. I think out of all of them, I like Ryan Drummond a little bit more. He's still the one that has the most consistent like attitude, heart, and the right age to him, like sonically. But Ben plays a Sonic that this movie needs, an overexcited kid with huge insecurities from the way he was raised, the life that he's speeding through and seeing unfold, but he can never really take a part in. He's like an outsider. I love the dramatic beats, and even though not all of Ben Schwartz's comedic improv works, some jokes land wonderfully because he's just really good at that stuff, and I'm a huge fan of all of his work. Some feel kind of forced to punch up the jokes a little bit in the script, so taking you out of the emotion that the scene's trying to convey and just going for a quick joke that like references a video game or references that, you know, it's funny that he does this because he's a hedgehog and it's not, you know, something that we see every day. So that's the kind of Deadpool aspect that I was talking about. Yeah, you can really feel that in this. It takes the emotion out sometimes, but he actually nails the drama of the softer, quieter moments too. There's some like little moments where you could have gone for a joke, but Sonic's just like, okay, well, that's good. You know, like really like human moments. So Sonic is an outsider. You really feel that through his whole arc. That's kind of what Sonic goes through in the entire movie. It's like him feeling like, oh, he's seeing all these kids playing baseball and he's seeing all these people having these human connections, and he kind of has to hide because of his incredible power. You know, I mean, if people notice that on the street, your life will never be the same again. That's with every superhero, you know? Yeah, the CGI is impeccable, and it almost got to that Ted, you know, the Seth MacFarlane movie quality at points. Sonic in live action actually really works, and there's even some straight up Dragon Ball Z type moments that the fandom is sure to love because of course the games kind of revel in that, the later games. There's really cool like action stuff like that, so don't think too much of that, but definitely if you love that shonen kind of stuff, that's definitely in there. It's no wonder that the visual effects studio that helped create the effects for this movie, Blur, also did the cutscenes for Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06. And for all those games' problems, and there are many, the CGI cutscenes were always the highlights. And the movie never reaches the epic proportions of like late game modern Sonic games in terms of like scale or like big monster stuff or like the crazy action that Sonic does, but in emotional resonance and in the impact, it really actually delivers. And again, the movie is telling a small, contained story on purpose. You need to set up your world, introduce your major players, and give audiences a simple, fun adventure they can go see on Valentine's Day. If they're not that connected to Sonic, they can at least relate to this new story that they see unfold for the first time in these characters. But you can feel the gears turning underneath it, where they're very clearly building some sort of cinematic Sonic verse. I can't say much, but stay for that mid-credits scene. There's no extra scene after the final, longer credits, but what happens after the mid-credit sequence is something that made my theater erupt in applause and excitement. I've never felt anything like that in my life, not even with like big Avengers kind of stuff. It was like Smash Brothers Ultimate reveal type hype, but in a movie theater. And I just gotta say, if you're following a lot of Sonic stuff on YouTube, please get off YouTube after this video because very likely you'll get spoiled. Like after I saw the movie, like the first thumbnail in a YouTube video was exactly those moments that got completely spoiled. So people are doing that, I won't be doing that. Lastly, the music and sound in this movie, which is of course a huge deal to Sonic, felt to me like a perfect addition to what happens on screen. It never takes center stage, which is odd for a Sonic property, as music sometimes defines entire moments or games. You know, they're like, here's the music, here's the thing that you want to hear, or here's something new. But the orchestral score is solid with new melodies, it's all brand new music and a feeling of whimsy, epic scale, sometimes big roaring overtures, which I love. You don't really expect that from Junkie XL. Well, since he's done like the Justice League, the Batman kind of stuff, Batman vs. Superman, I really have been looking at his career and it's really incredible. Also a fellow Dutchman, really incredible score. I loved it. I can totally see why he was chosen. I'd love to listen to the score on its own. I haven't done that yet. There were also some great licensed music choices in the film. I'm not going to spoil them, but they really want to make you move along with Sonic. Now the sound mixing was excellent as well, as I've actually met the people who did the sound mixing on Sonic. And I got introduced to the hows and the whats that goes into it, making me appreciate the scope, the power, and sometimes even the quieter moments even more. The quiet moments aren't, blown up as much as in other big movies. They're really quiet and very small. You even have to lean forward to kind of be in the moment with the characters. My final say on Sonic the Hedgehog is that it's a film made for general audiences, and I think kids will love the new world. There's a lot more to explore here, and I think in toy sales, this is probably going to do really well if they, do the designs justice in that, but it has so much to offer longtime Sonic fans. No, it's not a retelling of any of the adventure games, and no, it doesn't play out like any of the Genesis games that you've played. It's a new thing, but it does celebrate all of the franchise's lore, some of the missteps, and love for the fans. I actually want to see it a couple of more times because it was well executed, charming, energizing, and most of all, one of the best video game to film adaptations in recent memories. And as for my score, I'm going to give the Sonic the Hedgehog movie an 8. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's always so much fun to see you guys join me for movie reviews or video game reviews. We do content on this channel every single day, so please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, like this video, and I'll see you around the corner where there's always more blocked content. Gotta go fast!